Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and it's the 31st of January 2025. Alright everyone, let's get into it. So as you all know at this point, there's been a pretty huge shift in the regulatory environment around crypto, particularly in the US, and with that, a revival of some of these older kind of efforts in the US around Ethereum. And one of those efforts that has been, I guess, like a leading effort since 2017 is the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, which is incubated or part of Consensus here. And this was pretty big news back in the day. I remember actually getting into Ethereum in early 2017, and then the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance was formed, and they had these big announcements that all these kind of big companies were building on Ethereum. And of course, like being, I guess, new to crypto, a lot of people thought that meant that these companies were going to like immediately start deploying things to Ethereum and integrate it into their products and services, but really it was pilot programs, right? It was just kind of research into what this Ethereum thing is. But in saying that, it did lead to a lot of good conversations over the years, a lot of good pilot programs over the years, and now we're at the point where there is actual adoption going on the institutional side of things, on the corporation side of things, or on the corporate side of things with regards to Ethereum. And in particular, a lot of institutions I'm hearing are pretty interested in the L2 model because it basically allows them to launch their own, chain on top of Ethereum and maintain whatever controls they need to. And I know that may go against what I guess we're all about in Ethereum, decentralization, open source, permissionlessness, etc. But the way I think about it is like the internet versus intranet model, or I guess like the internet being like this open thing, or relatively open, and intranets being closed and completely controlled ecosystems based on different environments, whether that be in a corporate environment or in a government environment or institution, whatever it is, there are differences here. And I think the same thing is going to play out with Ethereum, where we have an open ecosystem, but then we have all these private kind of chains, I guess you could call them, or private ecosystems that plug into that open one, because that's just the natural model of things. But the reason why I'm talking about this today, or at least one of the reasons, was because the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, a Twitter account, tweeted out that they've launched the Ethereum Business Index survey for 2025. So this is a data-driven index measuring how businesses use Ethereum and blockchain today, tracking growth, industry trends, and identifying leaders. And this may seem boring on the surface, and you may be thinking, why are you talking about this, Sassel? This doesn't really make much, this doesn't get me bullish. I'm like, well, I can frame anything that happens in Ethereum as bullish, and I'll prove it to you right now. The reason why I think this is something worth talking about and is bullish is because, as I mentioned just earlier, a lot of the corporations and institutions and businesses that had gotten involved with Ethereum and crypto generally had done so in an exploratory capacity, in a research capacity, in a pilot program capacity. But if we actually want to put kind of metrics to this, put numbers to this, and actually get more of these businesses building on-chain in a serious way, we need to show them that building on-chain and integrating, crypto, integrating blockchains into their products and services is actually net beneficial to them. You can tell them, but if you haven't got the data to back it up, then they're going to sit there and be like, well, what's the point? What's the use of this? We don't have any data to back this up. We don't know what this is actually going to do for our business. We're going to invest all this money into kind of going down this road, and we don't even know what the results are going to be at the end. So by getting this, I guess, kind of survey together, or this survey out there, what the EEA is trying to do here is get all of that information, get all of that data, and basically present it to these different parties and say, here's how crypto, blockchain, Ethereum can impact your business positively, and here's how you can get started doing that. And I hope that, or I don't have to hope, because I know this would be part of it, but essentially what follows on from here will be conversations that happen with these institutions and these companies, where essentially the EEA can say to them, well, we think like building your own layer 2 is the perfect solution, and hey, you don't even need to basically reinvent the wheel here. There are already open standards you can use, such as the OP stack, such as Arbitrum Orbit, such as what ZK Sync is doing with their stack as well. There's a lot of these stacks, so they can just choose from that, launch, and then instantly they'll be able to interoperate with the rest of the Ethereum ecosystem, and it's relatively low overhead for them to do this. And obviously it depends on what they want to do. There are different use cases, different different requirements for each and every project, but that's where the EEA comes in and points them in the right direction and acts as that kind of conduit between those businesses and the crypto ecosystem. So as I said, it's actually quite bullish. It's a longer term thing. It's not going to happen overnight. This stuff takes a while. I mean, as I said, this has been around since 2017. It's been a long time since then, but this is the kind of stuff that happens slowly, but then happens all at once sort of thing. And then you see like a big shift towards this, and it ends up being very bullish in the end. Speaking of bullish things happening in Ethereum, Vivek here, the founder of Ethereum Alliance, put together a great little tweet thread here where he said, "We are not bulled up enough about ETH. It's been 1 week since the inauguration," obviously talking about Trump's inauguration here, "and the entire Ethereum ecosystem has been reborn. Here are 5 reasons why ETH now has structural, not cyclical tailwinds for 2025 and beyond." And of course, first thing he mentions is that Trump's World Liberty project and team are building on Ethereum and buying ETH. I believe I counted this today. They have about $270 million worth of ETH right now, which is an enormous amount of ETH, right, that they've kind of got in their publicly available addresses there. We don't know how much ETH they have behind the scenes. Maybe they have more, but this is all on-chain, and they've been using CowSwap to buy ETH. So that's quite bullish, right? Obviously, this isn't Trump directly doing this. Like, I know people like to debate this. There was actually a debate about this in the Daily Gwei Discord channel just before. Obviously, Trump is not sitting there on CowSwap himself buying ETH. Like, that's not what's happening. But the thing is that he is associated with this team, with World Liberty Finance, and they're doing it. So that's really all that matters. And as you guys know, I've talked about narrative versus reality before. The narrative is what you want to be kind of putting out there in order to frame this as being bullish for Ethereum and ETH, because it is. And saying that Trump is doing this is more bullish than saying Trump's team. That's just the way narratives work. But yes, sure, we all know the reality is that Trump's not sitting there doing transactions on CowSwap buying ETH. Like, honestly, like, if he was doing that, I'd be like, well, why are you doing that, dude? Like, delegate that to someone else. You don't need to be doing that. And that's essentially what's happening here. I doubt he has any kind of, I guess, say into what's going on here, but his name is attached to it, and he's promoting it through his relevant channels as well. And obviously, Trump being like just pro crypto generally is a huge boon for our industry there. Second reason Vivek gives here is that the buy side of ETH, such as asset managers and hedge funds, are vocally all in on tokenization. The digital future is inevitable. Stocks, bonds, all assets will be tokenized on public blockchains, and all roads for tokenization flow through Ethereum. As I've said, I think over the last few refuels, Ethereum currently is the home of tokenization. It's got the most real world assets on there. It's got the most stable coins. It looks like that's going to remain the case. We have Ethereum in our corner now, advocating that out to the wider ecosystem. And really, it doesn't make sense for someone like a BlackRock to build a tokenization on anything, or I guess like they'll build it on other chains, but like to focus on anything but Ethereum, because it plugs directly into their ETH ETF product, and it also is obviously Ethereum is the most battle hardened and secure and reliable chain that you can build on. But on top of that as well, I would say that my kind of, I guess, thesis, I guess you could call it, or like prediction that BlackRock and other major institutions will launch their own L2s on Ethereum, I still very much think that's in play, because from the conversations I've been having with the Ethereum people and others, really the interest peaks when someone mentions like, oh, you could build your own chain on Ethereum. Like, it really goes up, because they're like, wow, okay, all of these issues that I had with blockchains are now gone, such as privacy issues, right? Such as control over the assets on there, such as controlling the ledger, and so on and so forth. As I said, not something that we consider to be a blockchain, not something that we consider to be a core value prop of this industry, but it's still this technology enabling something new for these ecosystems. And as I said, this plugs into the rest of the ecosystem. So it kind of is a yin and yang relationship rather than anything kind of parasitic there. So the third reason Vivek gives here is that the sell side, such as investment banks, are all embracing crypto functionality. And what is the safest, most secure blockchain with programmatic finance capability? Of course, it's Ethereum. And as you guys know, the other week, banks, I think it was a SARB 121 regulation was overturned, and banks can now custody crypto. So yeah, I mean, big news all around there for not just ETH, but all of crypto, which is what which is what Vivek mentions here as his fourth reason as well. And then fifth, the staked ETH ETFs are likely on the horizon as well, which is obviously something that's coming now that the SEC isn't hostile towards crypto anymore. And then Vivek finishes this tweet by saying, remember, in this new renaissance, all roads lead through Ethereum. Institutional blockchains, tokenization, programmatic finance, and stablecoins, all through Ethereum, all through ETH. And he says you are not bullish enough on ETH, which I don't think any of us are, especially given like how, I guess, bearish the ecosystem has been on Ethereum and ETH because of the relatively weak, I guess, price action, but also just so much FUD, guys. Like, there's so much FUD. You guys know, you guys see it. It's just never ending. But I think over the longer term, my strong belief, obviously, is fundamentals always shine through, and the reality shines through the FUD, which I think is what we're seeing, these days. All right, so Vitalik put a tweet out basically highlighting some of the great work a bunch of people in the Ethereum ecosystem are doing, such as Justin Drake, Dan Crad, and others here. But essentially, he basically put together a list here where he said, in 2025, we need blobs and L1 cost reductions like EIP 4444. In 2026, we need more blobs. Many people are heroes pushing forward the research here, such as Francesco here and Dan Crad. By 2030, we need other things. Now, this goes back to that, I guess, longer term roadmap that Justin spoke about, the beam chain thing that he spoke about, which goes out to 2030. And as you guys know from Justin's Bankless Summit talk, if you watch that, there's so much happening between like now and 2030. And Vitalik highlights a bunch of these things here. You know, we need long-term robust economics. We need long-term robust staking decentralization. We need a clean and simple protocol. We need better security. We need light clients. We need quantum resistance, and we need things like account abstraction. And the beam chain roadmap delivers on all of these over time here, but also over the longer term. Because as you guys know, Ethereum is not just building for today, the next month, the next 6 months. Even this current roadmap that we're on, like, it's not even like the real long-term roadmap. This current roadmap that we're on, that started in 2020, I would say, probably goes out to 2030. But then beyond that, there are still things that we need to build and need to do. But I would say like the bulk of the work that we think needs to be done will be done by 2030. But there's still so much more that needs to be done here. So Ethereum is building for decades into the future. We want to make sure that the Ethereum network stays alive for as long as possible. Maybe till the, I guess, like till the far future. I don't know what's going to happen hundreds, thousands of years into the future. I think by that point we may not even be on Earth as our main planet. That another planet may have taken over as like the main place where humans reside. Who knows? You know, we have no idea what's going to happen. But the core premise of Ethereum, or promise of Ethereum, is to last as long as humanly possible on Earth. I don't think we're going to be able to do like the blockchain networks across planets or across and definitely not across star systems, unless we discover how to do like localized wormholes where you could do instant communication between different points in space, which is so far out into the future from what I've seen and from all the research I've done. Space is a little side hobby of mine, but from all the little kind of research I've done on that, that's just not a reality. So if we're staying in reality here, we're talking about making sure that Ethereum can last as long as really humans are dominant on Earth. Honestly, that's probably the best way to put it there. But anyway, you can read Vitalik's whole tweet for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, there was another all-core devs call that happened, I believe, yesterday, and there's a quick TLDR here from Tim Byko. If you're running Geth, they actually released an update that contains a patch to a critical vulnerability within Geth. So if you are running Geth, you should definitely upgrade. This is a security release, as mentioned here. You can go and just go get your normal Geth release, and that'll fix the issue for you there. Client teams should share DevNet 6 ready branches with ETH Panda Ops soon, which means that DevNet 6 should be stable by next week's all-core dev call. And then if DevNet 6 is stable, they're going to pick testnet fork slots for Holeshki and Sepolia on February 6th. And then on February 10th, client releases will go out for Holeshki and Sepolia configurations. This is for Pectra, of course. And Feb 20, if Holeshki has forked without issues, they will pick the mainnet fork slot. So they don't want to pick a mainnet time slot earlier to avoid creating misleading expectations. I still think it's on for mid to late March here, guys. We'll see how the test nets go, of course. But yeah, that's basically what's happening there. Now, these discussions, obviously, about the next fork after Pectra. As you guys know, it is named Fusaka. This fork devnet should only... they're aiming for the first devnet for Fusaka to only include EOF and PeerDAS. There were many discussions about roadmap planning on the call, but no decision beyond that. Teams should share their views in the Pectra retrospective thread here. There were also discussions around the node hardware and bandwidth requirements. Now, I want to focus on Fusaka for 1 second here. I think I mentioned on previous refuels that there is a strong appetite to only do PeerDAS and EOF in the Fusaka fork and basically have that done in like late Q3, kind of sometime in Q4 this year, and then push everything else that was going to be included in Fusaka, such as FOCIL, the inclusion list EIP, push that out to the next upgrade, which I believe is called Glamsterdam. So I think this is the best course of action. PeerDAS is critical. As I mentioned, PeerDAS is critical. Scaling blobs is critical. Making sure that we scale Ethereum is critical, and making sure that we do it as soon as possible is the best path forward here. So I'm fully in favor of this. I'm fully in favor of just shipping PeerDAS and EOF. I know EOF is still contentious among core devs from what I've seen. I don't know if it's going to make it into the Fusaka fork. We may actually just get PeerDAS in Fusaka and not EOF. I don't know. There's going to be discussions around that, but I do know there's some contention there. There doesn't seem to be any contention around PeerDAS at all. Everyone wants this to go in as soon as possible, so I'm very happy to see that there. But anyway, we'll know more next week around timelines for Pectra, of course. All right, speaking of FOCIL, Terrence shared a screenshot of the FOCIL EIP 7805 devnet now finalizing. So beyond the happy case, they stimulated blocks not satisfying the inclusion lists are orphaned, blocks skipped are missed, and blocks with inclusion lists are proposed. So these simulations helped uncover more open problems, but one step closer to the finish line. This is freaking awesome, guys. Like the fact that it's just working on a devnet right now in practice means that we're finally at a point where we decided on I guess like path to go down for inclusion lists. We got an EIP proposed. Now we're doing devnets for it. It all seems to be going well. There's obviously going to be small bugs here and there that need to be worked out. But as I said, this is probably getting pushed out to Glamsterdam. But they've got like a whole year now because Glamsterdam probably won't get delivered till like, let's say March of next year or around then. They've got like more than about a year from so a little bit over a year from now to basically do all the testing here and get this more than ready for that fork. So great to see this is already on a devnet. It's already working, and I'm sure they're going to keep getting this better and better over time. All right, so a new collective called Fabric has been launched. So this is a community-driven effort to collectively agree upon standards and components and continue accelerating coordination to drive forward the based rollup ecosystem. And there is an ETH research post here for you to check out if you would like to. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But this again goes towards what I was talking about. I think it was on the last refuel, the refuel before, about Ethereum acceleration is all about coordinating better. It's not about throwing more money at the problem. It's not about throwing more people at the problem. It's about coordinating the existing people better, and then any new people that we bring in, making sure that they can quickly get up to speed and have a impact on the work as fast as humanly possible. So again, that's all about coordination, which is exactly what Fabric is trying to do here. They're trying to coordinate around a set of shared standards, a set of agreed kind of principles of how to develop these things and agreed paths forward here in order to basically get based rollups or make based rollups a reality so that we can get that interoperability that we've been talking about. You know, it was funny. I was on a call with someone the other day and I basically was giving my kind of state of the Ethereum ecosystem, how I see it to this person. And I kept going back to one thing within Ethereum. And that thing was that we talk a lot about things in Ethereum, right? We talk a lot about the different research pipelines. We talk a lot about things that are coming soon or coming in the future. But I think when it comes to based rollups and interoperability of L2s, we've talked about it a lot, but we can talk about it as much as we want. What we need to do is we need to actually get this stuff live and show people and get it into their hands. So essentially, the job's not done until I can open up my wallet and do cross-chain transactions between the L2s while not having to change chains, while not having to bridge assets across chains. I just want to do it seamlessly with one wallet, one address, one simple UX, no approving either of tokens. I just want to do a simple token swap across chains like that. Once people actually experience that, once all of Ethereum feels like one chain again, that's when we can be excited. I am excited about the research stuff. I'm excited about covering this stuff for you guys and educating you. But in terms of the marginal everyday user, this is no use to them just like telling them it's coming. We need to show them that it's coming. And that's what initiatives like show them that it's live. And that's what initiatives like Fabric are doing, and others like the sequencing call and stuff that Justin Drake has highlighted in the past. They're trying to do that. And they are going to do that. And they're putting like aggressive timelines on it too, which is another big thing where we need to talk less, do more, but also like, I guess, like get things into people's hands quicker than we historically have. All right, so Bolt has launched on mainnet. So essentially what this is proposer commitments on Ethereum mainnet here. So what Bolt is trying to do is essentially enable sub-second pre-confirmations. As you guys know, pre-confirmations are the key to basically unlocking current rollup-like user experience for based rollups, because as you guys know, if you're a base rollup today, you are basically using the Ethereum validator set, which means you are tied to Ethereum slot times, which are 12 seconds. That's nowhere near fast enough for the average user. So they're used to having like 1 second or sub-second transaction confirmation on the L2s. We need to bring that to mainnet to base rollups. And how we do that is with pre-confirmations, which can get transaction confirmation to as low as 100 milliseconds, or even below that for the end user here. So what Bolt is trying to do is essentially become this proposer commitment protocol. They say what they are here. Bolt is a proposer commitments protocol enabling new use cases, starting with pre-confirmations. So the value for users is near instant transactions and guaranteed inclusion on the L1, as I just mentioned there. And for validators, credible commitments enable new revenue streams. So this is basically software that validators can install, like an MEV boost, for example, but to start with for pre-confirmation. So if you're running an Ethereum validator, you now get to essentially get revenue for providing pre-confirmations, providing credible commitments to the network in order to enable these user experiences here. And I'm super excited about this because of the fact that it is like sidecar software that you can kind of plug in here, and then you can do that as just like a normal validator. If you're a node operator, you're running validators, you can just plug this in and enable another revenue stream for yourself. And there's going to be so many more revenue streams coming here, guys, beyond that, especially with things like Eigenlayer AVSs, and Bolt is partnered with Eigenlayer here as well. You can see here what they're doing with their AVS. So they've got a graphic here of how this works. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. But they have a bunch of launch partners as well. They have some of the biggest names as launch partners. Like P2P is a big node operator on the network. So's Chorus One, Kiln, Peer 2. There's, a lot of names on here. Some core dev names like Nethermind on here. So a lot of big names already launching with this, which is really, really great. And then if you want to get involved as well, there is a tweet here for you to do so there. I do want to disclose, actually, I forgot to disclose this at the top, the company behind Bolt I'm an investor in, because, as you guys know, I'm all about the Ethereum infrastructure and making sure that we can get this infrastructure live on mainnet and produce value for not only, I guess, like validators, node operators, but also users. And that's exactly what these things do here. So anyway, you can go check this out for yourself. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, speaking of Justin Drake, I've mentioned his name a couple of times on the Refuel today. I put out a tweet where I asked, can any of the ZK Gigabrains put a timeline on achieving real-time proving at an average cost of basically nothing per proof, and basically getting us towards the Holy Grail? And Justin replied to my tweet saying, next slot real-time proving is coming in 2025. That's a huge statement there, guys. Like, next slot real-time proving, that means proving EVM mainnet blocks in a slot, like in 12 seconds. And for him to say it's coming in 2025, big statement. I know Justin's a bit of a hype man at times, but I do trust his word when he says things like this. So that's this year, guys. It's not very far along from here. And that is considered like one of the holy grails of Ethereum when it comes to its ZK roadmap here. And then Justin continued and he said, this year I expect multiple ZK VM vendors to prove mainnet EVM blocks on GPUs in less than 12 seconds. At less than 10 cents per block. Performance numbers will get crazier with Snark ASICs, and you can follow the journey, of course, on ETH proofs. And then he continued by saying, no L1 is poised to benefit from real-time ZK VMs nearly as much as Ethereum. ZK is how Ethereum scales sustainably with full validation for stakers and wallets accessible to phones and watches. Real-time ZK is the endgame. Like I've got to admit here, I sometimes feel like an Ethereum bear when I compare myself to Justin Drake. He is definitely a bigger bull than me, and I know that's saying something, but man, like there's not many people who can make me more bullish on Ethereum in this ecosystem. But Justin Drake is definitely one of those people. So I'm happy to say that he is a bigger Ethereum bull than me, which I didn't think was possible. But hey, he is just like involved with so many different things. He's directly pushing them forward, and he just has a way with words, and he has a way of hyping things up, but also hyping them up with kind of tangible stuff to back it up, and also doing the work as well, which is a big thing here. It's all well and good being a hype man, but if all you do is sit on Twitter and like hype up Ethereum and ETH all day and produce nothing and don't do anything outside of that, it's okay, I guess, but like it's not really pushing the ecosystem forward. Whereas Justin Drake is doing all of the above. I mean, he doesn't spend that much time on Twitter, but he's doing a lot of work in the background on a lot of different things here. So yeah, it was just really great to get a reply from him on that. All right, so there was another really bullish thing that happened with regards to L2 interop during the week. So Josh Rudolph here basically works in R&D at the Ethereum Foundation. He has been running this L2 interop call for a little bit now, and essentially this call, the latest call, was all about setting a short-term roadmap for achieving interoperability at L2s. And one quote that I pulled out of it was this. So it said, users should be able to transfer any asset, existing or newly issued, across chains quickly, securely, and without trust assumptions. And I basically quote tweeted this and I said, seamless interop between Ethereum L2s is coming fast because they have a 3/6 month roadmap in flight. So as I said, we're putting more aggressive timelines on things now, but it's because we are coordinating better as an ecosystem. Like the ecosystem over the last couple of months has really come together and begun coordinating a lot better across different kind of, I guess, pools of talent. You know, the Ethereum Foundation, Ethereum Core, L2 teams, infrastructure providers, you know, all those kinds of people. We're really getting them all to align on different things and align on really important things like layer 2 interop, and it seems to be all coming together very nicely now. We have a bunch of really cool people who have stepped up to lead these efforts as well, so that's why we're putting more aggressive timelines on this. But as I was saying earlier, timelines are cool, aggressive timelines are cooler, but the coolest thing is to actually get this live for users to get benefits out of, and hopefully this does go live in the next 3 to 6 months here. Speaking of L2s, L2 Beat has updated their stages framework, so they have proposed a higher level and better formalized guiding principle for stage 1. The goal is to formalize the notions around its security properties to make them simpler to reason about, but also more strict and less open to interpretations. So the I guess like high level stage 1 definition now reads: the only way other than bugs for a rollup to indefinitely block an L2 to L1 message, e.g. a withdrawal, or push an invalid L2 to L1 message, e.g. an invalid withdrawal, is by compromising more than 75% of the Security Council. So that's basically the guiding principle there. And they go into more detail here in their thread about this. I know there was some pushback on this. There was some kind of debate around this. There was a little bit of controversy about this, but we shouldn't shy away from making sure that we're as technically accurate as possible, just because of a little bit of controversy, because it's critically important that users understand how they can potentially lose money when they bridge money into a less than stage 2 rollup, but also how they can exit one of these rollups if the worst case scenario happens where the rollup goes offline or some kind of bug happens or whatever it is, right? So I'm glad that L2 Beat is keeping us all honest here. All right, last thing on layer 2s here was just a handy little graphic here that Utam from Alchemy created here. I hope I said your name right. I don't know how to pronounce that name, unfortunately, and I'm very bad at pronunciation. But regardless of that, this is a really, really helpful graphic here that basically gives you a breakdown of what each kind of rollup construction is on Ethereum. So he's got a list here of base rollup, native rollup, ultrasound rollup, ZK rollup, optimistic rollup, Validium, Optiminium, stage 2 rollup, and then different layers. Now, this is a lot of rollups, right? This is a lot of different terminology here. This is not something that you're going to be showing to the average user and saying, hey, you need to learn all of this stuff or else you can't use Ethereum. Like, no, that's nothing got to do with that. what it does show though, and what it does do is basically give us a baseline of each of these things so that we can understand them, and so that developers and people building within the ecosystem can build better things because they don't have to go searching for definitions. So that's why I really liked this graphic, and I'll be referencing it myself going forward. But I want to get to a world where we basically don't need to know about any of this stuff and we just call them Ethereum rollups. Like, this is titled Ethereum Rollups 101. I just want to get to Ethereum rollups. I don't want to have to like go through all these different naming conventions and all these different definitions just to describe things. I just want to say Ethereum rollups, and then people will know what I mean, because most of them in the end game should be based on native rollups. That's what we're hoping for. Even if they use off-chain DA, like, we're still going to maybe call them something else, but hopefully we can just agree to call them Ethereum rollups at that stage. And I know definitions change over time, but I really want to get to a point where we can just have one definition rather than a million different ones. But still, very valuable graphic here. You can check that out. I'll link it in the YouTube description below for you to do so. All right, last up here, I just wanted to highlight something from Hyperdrive. So essentially, they're running a campaign right now for their new token that they've got coming out. So they're incentivizing this, and you can check out what the details of this. I'll link it in the YouTube description below. But essentially, 5% of the new token supply will be allocated to Hyperdrive miles earned by users through the end of April, and you can go to the blog post to learn more about that. They've also got a how to start accumulating miles description here in the Twitter thread, and they're running a community call as well, I believe today. I think this is at, I don't know what time 6 p.m. UTC is for me, so and for you guys, so I can't tell you that time. But yeah, if you're interested in going and farming some of this new token, or I guess like getting some of this new token that Hyperdrive is doing here, you can. I'll link this in the YouTube description below. So yeah, but I think on that note, that's going to be it for today's episode. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all on Monday. Thanks everyone.